One of the most important aspects to understanding the lore of Elden Ring is understanding how old Miquella and Malenia actually are. By working backwards from our fight with Malenia, we can attempt to deduce when the Twin Empyreans may have been born. From the remembrance of the rock goddess, we learn that Miquella and Malenia are both the children of a single god. They are the children between Radagon and Marika. As such, they are both Empyrean, but suffered afflictions from birth. One was cursed with eternal childhood, and the other harbored rot from within. So we know that their mother and their father are the same person, and we don't know how old either of them are, or what Radagon's origins are. Meaning we can't deduce when they were born just by their parentage. We also learn from this item that Malenia is eternally decaying due to scarlet rot, and Miquella is cursed with eternal childhood. We only learn this information from Malenia's remembrance, the most difficult boss in the entire game, who is at the end of a hidden dungeon. This leads me to believe that knowledge of Miquella's eternal youth is not well known in the Lands Between. To the rest of the world, they must think he is actually just a child. From a storytelling perspective, it would honestly be very wasteful for our authors to have a character who is cursed with eternal childhood to actually just be the youngest of the main characters. That being the case, we cannot determine the age of either of our characters with this information. We don't know the ages or origins of Radagon or Marika, and we can't determine the age of someone who is eternally a child or the age of someone who is eternally decaying. From Malenia's remembrance, we can learn the incantation Scarlet Aeonia. It reads, "Each time the scarlet flower blooms, Malenia's rot advances. It has bloomed twice already. With the third bloom, she will become a true goddess." With this, we can start deducing a timeline based on when the scarlet flower has bloomed. When Malenia reaches her second phase, she tells us directly,
"The scarlet bloom flowers once more."
And then she transforms from Malenia, Blade of Miquella, to Malenia, Goddess of Rot. From the Aeonian butterfly, we learn that according to myth, these butterflies were once the wings of the Goddess of Rot herself. From this, we can safely deduce that the third and final Scarlet Bloom occurs during her boss fight, her name literally being Goddess of Rot, and her wings being made of butterflies. Cleanrot Knight Finlay was one of the few survivors of the Battle of Aeonia, who in an unimaginable act of heroism carried the slumbering demigod Malenia all the way back to the Halig Tree. She managed this feat alone, fending off all manner of foes along the way. And with that, we can travel to the site of the second Scarlet Bloom, Caelid. We all know what happened here, but while we're in town, let's chat with the old sage Gowry. He is the only character in-game who actually makes mention of Malenia and Miquella's birth by telling us,
Queen Marika and her king consort Radagon were blessed with twin demigods, and Malenia was one of them. She was born an Empyrean carrying the Scarlet Rot. An Empyrean is no mere demigod. In the age of the Elden Ring and Queen Marika, the precious Empyrean was born, a new god to forge a new order.
So now we have a definitive time when the twin Empyreans were born, in the age of the Elden Ring. The problem is that this is the only time the phrase Age of the Elden Ring is ever used in-game. Currently, the game takes place at the end of the Age of the Erd Tree. There is no indication that the Age of the Erd Tree has ended between the time Godfrey became Elden Lord until the end of the game when we choose an ending. Either we are currently in the Age of the Elden Ring, and no one but Gowry cares to mention it, or the Age of the Elden Ring is another period altogether. Luckily for us, we already deduced the last two Scarlet Blooms, so we just need to find the first one. Beneath Liurnia lies Noxtella, the Eternal City. There's a lot of interesting stuff for us to learn in this place, but the most interesting of them all are these two statues of a hooded man holding an iron greatsword. This iron greatsword is the same one wielded by the red-haired Misbegotten, the same enemy type we find in the Forlorn Cave with Radagon's Golden Order greatsword. These statues are found practically everywhere in the Lands Between. On the bridges to every Divine Tower, the Chapel of Anticipation, the Church of Vows, the Church of Manicelis, inside the Wandering Mausoleums, and they come in two variations. One with a sword, another holding a book. Radagon was a prolific learner. As the husband of Rennala of Caria, the red-haired Radagon studied sorcery, and as the husband of Queen Marika, he studied incantations. He was also a mighty champion, with his scar and sword seals exemplifying his strength and prowess in the stats that they enhance, as well as leading Leyendel's forces in the Liurnian Wars, and kicking my ass in his boss fight. That is all to say that these hooded statues are depicting Radagon throughout the ages. Since Radagon is Marika, and Marika is a Newman, who are long-lived and seldom born, wherever Marika has been, Radagon could have been there as well. Past these statues we come up on a dam built by the Eternal City, and past that is a great lake of standing water, where it is said that the divine essence of an outer god is sealed away. The Lake of Rot. I think we found the location of our first Scarlet Bloom, all the way back in the ancient dynasty. But can we be certain? In the Grand Cloister we find the Rot Pest praying towards a room covered in the gross fungal growths of the Scarlet Rot. Beneath the overgrown statue of the ancient dynast is a chest. Inside is the Scorpion Stinger, a dagger fashioned from a great scorpion's tail, glistening with scarlet rot, crafted from a relic of a sealed outer god, and on its hilt is the relief of a wolf's head. According to the old legends, wolves are the shadows of Empyreans. We never actually hear mention of the shadows of Miquella and Malenia, and I think we can see why. They were Empyreans during the age of the ancient dynasty. Miquella and Malenia were born long before any of the other demigods. This discovery then begins to answer a lot of mysteries that are present within the base game without the need for the DLC. For example, the legend of the Blue Dancer. Being a legend, we can trust that not all of the details are completely accurate, with time changing the story to fit the needs of the culture telling it. But we can still try to glean what actually happened in the distant past. It is said that the divine essence of an outer god is sealed away in this land. By looking at the Lake of Rot, we can see that it is literally sealed by a dam constructed by the Eternal City. The dancer in blue represents a fairy, who in legend bestowed a flowing sword upon a blind swordsman. Blade in hand, the swordsman sealed away an ancient god, a god that was rot itself. So the dancer is a fairy, who bestowed a flowing sword upon a blind swordsman. The Nox are a cold-blooded race of people who use flowing swords forged from the liquid metal of a silver tear. It can reshape itself in the middle of combat. To a layperson who didn't know the mechanics of the silver tears or what the Nox were, this cold-blooded person may have looked like a mythical fairy to them with a magic flowing blade. This flowing sword is bestowed upon a blind swordsman, and from the Prothesis Wearer heirloom, we learn of the heroic tale of the young Malenia encountering her mentor and his flowing blade. As we see with Malenia, her eyes have been rotted away and she's blind. And although not a swordsman, Gideon describes Malenia as an undefeated swordswoman. So we can see a scenario where the tale of Malenia and her mentor with a Nox flowing sword can transform into a fairy and a blind swordsman over the many generations and ages, keeping the legend alive while protecting the knowledge of Malenia's true age. Miquella being eternally youthful can also explain how he seems to have so much influence through the lands between, yet seldomly mentioned in any of the machinations or plans of the demigods. The Shaded Castle, located in the Altus Plateau, is a castle sinking into a poisonous swamp. It is occupied by the depraved perfumers who wear the blasphemous serpent on their aprons, wraith callers and royal revenants who recoil at the power of Erd Tree healing, the Clean Rot Knights of Malenia, Elemer the Bell-Bearing Hunter, and most importantly of all, Malay Marai. The head of House Marai customarily wear a mask with the image of a white-haired young noble. This mask bears the likeness of the first of their line. This mask bears the likeness of Miquella, with its sleek feminine features and delicately braided hair. It also increases Arcane, which is a stat very closely associated with Miquella. His nascent butterflies are described as arcane with translucent wings, as if it's just emerged from its cocoon for its entire life. The sons of House Marai are all sickly born, much like a butterfly who appears to have just emerged from their cocoon, or like a person cursed with eternal youth. I think it's pretty clear that House Marai was founded by Miquella. I mean, They're literally wearing his face as a mask. But what has House Mirai done for us to think that they're pushing Miquella's influence? The Mirai family has a dual history spanning generations, serving as both executioners and castellans of the Shaded Castle. One of their greatest influences on the Lands Between is as the primary artisans in statue making. Many of the statues we find in the Shaded Castle are also found throughout the world. Being this is the only place that seems to have a stockpile of statues, it's safe to assume that they are the primary manufacturer. This would explain why we find the hooded statues of Radagon everywhere from Noxtella to your mom's house. It would also explain Muriel's dialogue.
You know, it's said that Lord Radagon harbored a secret. A famed sculptor of the Erdtree capital was once summoned to render Lord Radagon's likeness in giant stature, when he glimpsed the skeleton in Radagon's closet. And as such, it's said the great statue harbors his secret too.
Who other than the House of Miquella would know that Radagon was Marika? He probably knew it before Radagon did, honestly. At the top of the castle, we have a feasting hall and a fight with the bell-bearing hunter. Bell bearings functionally in-game allow us to access the wares of dead merchants, and our spirit calling bell allows us to summon spirits. Thanks to the excellent work done by Zuli the Witch, we know that Elamir is actually headless. And from the Mausoleum Knights, the act of severing someone's head seems to be able to allow a spiritual life post-death to serve their masters. Was Elamir sent out to collect bell bearings for the Mirais? I wouldn't be surprised. If you arrive at this area after finishing the Volcano Manor, you can find Patches, who will give you the Dancer's Castanets, which were used by dancers from foreign lands. Lady Tanith's consort mask is made in the image of a foreign queen. Long ago, when Rykard first set eyes on Tanith, she was working as a dancer in a foreign land. Soon, he made her his consort. She was the only human to remain by his side when he became the Serpent of Blasphemy. So we know that Tanith was present at the Shaded Castle, and also from Patch's dialogue we get this line.
The demigod beast is slain, and Tanith has lost her head. A fine mess. But how else could it end? When Daddy Ambition's head over heels courting Lady Blasphemy.
Tanith is the one who he assigns as blasphemous, while Rykard is only ambitious. It seems that Tanith meeting Rykard was no small accident, and perhaps Miquella wanted him to go down the blasphemous path and war with the Erdtree. It wouldn't be surprising, seeing of all the friendly faces that we find in the Shaded Castle. The Mirai robes are modified versions of the officials' attire. Grubby blue robes worn by magisterial officials to carry out their grim tasks. The only difference is the black mantle they wear across their shoulders, and we can find someone other than Malay wearing these robes. Up in the mountaintops of the Giants, we can find the Guardians Garrison, occupied by fire monks and their prelates. At the top of this castle is Arganthony, wearing the customary black mantle of House Mirai. Arganthony had wished to keep the incantation Flame of the Fell God secret, until Adon stole it and brought the knowledge to Liurnia. What was the secret that he was keeping? That Marika did not slay the Fell God, and that it still lurked within the Fire Giants. So far, we have House Mirai holding intimate secrets of both Radagon and Marika, and curiously enough, they are all wearing masks. Arganthony is not wearing the Mirai mask, but the ruler's mask. Mask in the image of a wizened sage. Customary dress among lords in a smaller nation. From the Shadow of the Erdtree trailer, we see many masked faces. It seems that masks and hiding one's identity is a very important practice found within the Land of Shadow. There is one more masked actor that I think has ties to House Mirai, though this is just merely speculation. The eccentric knight Jaren wears a hood that hides an aged, bearded mask. Jaren preferred a nomadic existence, but after spending time as a guest to the Carian royals, he became a guest commander for General Radagon, and for the first time, the restless tumbleweed would be bound by an honorable oath. That oath? That they would serve each other an honorable death to one another. From interviews with Miyazaki, we know that in order to access the DLC, Radon must be defeated, and the stars of fate must be set in motion again. How curious it is then that this bearded man inundated himself with the Carians and was able to bound Radon to a death oath. Perhaps Jaren was also an agent working for House Mirai, and Miquella. The Age of Miquella, I think, is one of the biggest blind spots for understanding the lore and story to Elden Ring. It's hard to wrap our head around this story until we start looking at the clues that tell us not to trust the ever-youthful Empyrean. It should make us reconsider what we know about his motivations. If he is lying about his age, what else is he lying about? This makes me think of the Golden Epitaph Sword. Sure, he said a prayer that he wished his brother to die a true death, but that doesn't mean anything. He only said it. If I said I was the first Elden Lord, would you believe me?
Hey everybody, Jack, first Elden Lord here. Thanks for watching the video all the way through. You know, they say a crown is warranted by strength, and I'm as tough as an omen horn. One of the foundational theories that I have for understanding the lore to Elden Ring is that Miquella is much older than he seems. I hope the evidence I presented to you in this video was able to convince you of that. The next video is going to be about the Crucible, blood, Erdtree burial, and spaceships. So, hope you stick around for that one. We also have a Discord you can join. It's found in the description, as well as a bunch of other videos on my channel that you could watch. My last video, I said that Godwyn was a dragon. So, go watch that one. All right, thank you. Bye.